Hello, welcome to Cerulean Arts Gallery. Today we're speaking with Mary Powers Holt in conjunction with her Cerulean Arts Collective exhibition, which is on through November 10th. Hello, Mary.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Mike. How are you? Uh,
Good, thanks for being here.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for the show and for this tour and talk as well.
Oh, of
Really,
course.
yeah.
So,
Well,
okay, well, please tell us a bit about yourself and
yeah.
then the show.
Well, for this show, I named my show The Stillness of Nature and Time, and also thought about calling it Same View, Different Day for the work in this show. Rather than looking for new and different places to paint, I started to embrace painting close to home and return to the same views of the landscape that I've walked in for many years now, going back maybe 25 years. For the work on this wall, I was actually focusing on tree canopies. So this one is September woods canopy. I alternate between, I guess, branches and woods and into landscape views of the sky. I like to look more for the abstract forms in both. So for the September woods, I was painting uh, the canopy and also the path. It's a path that I've walked through many times. So I took a long series of photographs and merged them together. So I was trying to, look up and look beyond at the same time. But the fall canopy was really just trying to focus on the lights changing and the colors. And when you're looking up, you can't really see, you see, forms for the trees, really not all of the detail because the sun is usually very bright. So those two went together. The third one is also, this is a tree that I've painted many times. It's a shagbark hickory tree. And at that point, the sky was changing into many colors and the tree almost looked soft. And I definitely went more over the top with the sky. I was thinking more of a dream, kind of that the feeling you might have when you're falling asleep and you can see colors changing and everything around it. But this tree has been, um, I guess, a subject in so many of my paintings, with the leaves, without, often with the skies changing. I tend more towards abstraction. I did start, well, at the academy, I was more of in my second and third year, an abstract painter and then went beyond. Um, and when we moved here, I never really lived in a place with so much landscape. So it kind of blew me away at first. I was like, wow, I mean, there's so much you can do with the picture plane itself and the colors and everything. So,
So
and
you're
from
in,
there,
is it Chester County?
yes, in Chester Springs. I live on it was at one time a farm. Um, Actually, it's a pretty historic. There's three families now living on the farm, but or in the buildings. It's divided up, but it goes back. Some of the buildings go back like 150, 200 years. So there's always a lot of history in some of my work as well. This show was more about looking at surroundings than some of the buildings and things. So for this wall, this was on the west side of east and west side. The small one, this one here, was just sitting in a picnic area, and I just started painting one evening. Um, and it's a kind of a quick sketch. I did finish it in the studio, but started it outside. It's acrylic on aluminum panel. So I did more outdoor painting in this show, but I do a combination of outdoor painting, photographs, and also, um, studio paintings. A lot of times in my photographs, I look for compositions. It's another view of the west side of Marsh Creek State Park. This is Faraway Woods, June. And you can stand, there's an entrance where you can stand and see like a really long vista of the sky. So this was a subject. On the left is Faraway Woods, August, and that was also painted outdoors. I think we just went past that one. Um, but
And you
that's
said they're on aluminum panel.
those two in the middle are on primed aluminum panels. The on the left and right, they're on a linen, like stretched canvas. So the one on the left, both of those were also painted outside. Um, that one is Faraway Woods, August, and is the same view that's on the little one lower in the right or on the right of that.
So what's
So
the difference between the canvas and the panel, the metal panel?
well, the panel you can, well, the panels are very sturdy. They're small and you can put them in a drawer if you don't frame them. They're easy to transport. Aluminum panel in the summer, it can get very hot and the paint can dry very quickly. So sometimes you want to stay in the shade. I mean, I use a lot of strategies like having a spray bottle, maybe a gloss or a GAC fluid to keep the paint a little bit moist, especially if you're standing in the sun. Usually I try to find a shadier spot or go in the evening when it's not so hot. I don't usually paint in the blazing sun. I like to paint more towards the evening outside.
Yeah,
And
there's
then the
lots
other
of
one,
factors painting outdoors, yes.
yes. These three, well, the one on the left and the one on the right are the same view in a different month. The one on the left was I call it partial eclipse day because when the partial eclipse on April 8th, I went up to the west side again to look at this view of the woods and just to see the sky changing. It was very cloudy, but you could still see some subtle changes. I was also very interested in the middle of the field. There was just this patch of wild daffodils growing. So looked at the composition and was interested in how that led you up to the other path. It's sort of like the daffodils would lead you into the woods and into the field. Um, and it was the patterns in the sky as well and the trees. So this is more, I did this in the studio, but really had a ton of photographs that day that I took outside. I also had eclipse glasses and something to take pictures of the eclipse with my phone as well, which I haven't included that, but this was just when things were starting to change. But um, yeah, so that was April. And then this view becomes a view I repeated in this show. And the one on the far right is actually a month later when the woods are covered with leaves and the skies were really, the clouds were very fluffy that day too, as well. And again, it was like looking at the same view and how it changes and doesn't change. Because I mean, I can go back next year, and since it's a state park, I mean, the sky around it will all change, but the view itself will still be there. Um, and there will be different forms and light. And I may have a different perspective that also changes the painting. So I look for that. I mean, a lot of the compositions are anchors to what maybe I want to convey when I'm painting. The middle one is actually an outdoor painting, that same tree that was in the front that I called Dreaming Tree and Sky. That's in mid-August or early August, just standing outside under the tree and painting it when it was like in its full glory of leaves and late summer. And my cat would come outside and sit with me in the field. He doesn't like to go too far in the field. He gets a little nervous with some of the wildlife down there. So,
Right.
um, yeah. So
So
that's
have you always been a landscape painter?
no, no. I mean, really, it was moving here. Like as I said, I was. Um, I mean, even when I was at the academy, I painted figuratively for a couple of years. I went from 79 to 83. I actually earned the 4-year certificate in 82 because I went to the University of the Arts a year before that, and then stayed till 83. But I was painting very large abstract paintings shaped canvases and things. It was really, and then I scaled down for a while to wood and shaped canvases, shaped paintings, but abstract. And then when we moved out here, like I said, I was kind of blown away by how just standing outside and painting was there was so much that I could do with paint and with composition and color. So I approached it more as an abstract painter, looking at the landscape. And this view, it's from the back of our house. Now it's, it used to be there were no homes back there. You can't really see them because the trees are covering. But when we first moved out here, there was nothing. That's my neighbor's pond. So they have part of the farm. But that evening, I just wanted to watch the sky change and try to kind of challenge myself to paint it as quickly as I could. Um, so then I finished them in the studio. I might paint a couple nights and then finish them because it's not gonna be exactly the same. And then I'll also take photos that I can reference. Um, and then this is again the same view, but a different month in June. And this um, was just, everything seemed, I wanted it to feel very expansive, kind of, like you're breathing or um, just with, and we wanted all of it's hard to see, but the green to float, some of the floating over under the sky and over. Um, and this view was probably the first view I started with when we moved here. So I have other ones, that go way back. And sometimes it's just you get a different um, way of looking at everything every time you approach it. That's, I guess, the whole idea. You could look at this, I could really drill down on this and just use one view and paint, many different times of day or seasons. There's choices in this where taking different views and maybe focusing them on a little more, but you could really uh, go even further with that and just make one view over and over again with different colors and ways of looking at it.
I guess you're very attuned to green
Yeah,
color, different variations.
well, this for this series, yeah. Sometimes though, I you get tired of the green, I think.
Uh-huh.
And like I like sometimes when winter you get kind of the browns and things. Um, and there's not as much snow as there used to be. This was on the west side of Marsh Creek, and it's actually a place that I found, and I found a path down on the left side that I'd never found before, and it was over Memorial Day weekend, and that side it was really not that busy. And I mean, if you go over to the east side, it's packed. But it was I was very excited to find this new path that I could hike down and uh, paint. So I started this outside and then finished it inside in the studio. But there were people basking on the rocks, or they rowed canoes over to that side from the east side, and the clouds were over the that hill. It's kind of a cool hill, the way, and I never saw it from that side before, so that was a good day.
So are there painters that you think about in terms of like historical ancestors or contemporary artists?
Yeah, there's um Emily Carr. I really admire. Let's see, for skies, Turner, Whistler for some of the nocturnes and kind of emotional feelings. These aren't nocturnes, but just more for the I guess the mood of some of those paintings. Agnes Pelton, I really love. I mean, some of these are people I've looked at recently. Um, more, and then in school, I love really when I was thinking more of abstract as an abstract painter, I really like Mark Rothko a lot and how a lot of his colors, starting your canvas with a color that kind of glows behind it, and then you can add color veils of color over that, um, and just blending different forms. But his are, obviously simplified. So no, he's not a landscape painter, obviously, but um, and then I probably developed a much more an appreciation for Lou Sloan's paintings later when I was a
Mm.
landscape. As a critic, he was a wonderful teacher. I wasn't painting that way when I was in school, but definitely have very much an appreciation for his work. Recently looked at the work of Richard Mayhew and read more about how he approaches landscape, and um, I think that's a lot of the way I not the same approach, but I think of it more as a personal, looking at the abstract qualities of it, more of a feeling. I'm not necessarily trying to define a specific place, but maybe I do in a sense, but I think it comes from more of a personal look at where I live. Um, a lot of other painters too. Liz Osborne's paintings too from school, Jimmy Luter's, they were also a big influence on me when I was in school. Um, so, but I was not a landscape painter.
Mhm,
So,
mhm. I mean,
uh,
your work definitely has an abstract
yeah.
quality.
Yeah, I probably didn't talk about that last one, but I'll move on. So here again, on the left side, that one is also the same view of the woods that was in partial eclipse day. Uh, Here it was really cold and snowy, and I just took a walk. But the light was really beautiful there. Uh, I and I mean, I am definitely accentuating what I saw. I got very much into the way the rays were coming, and I wanted to put more color into it. Um, for this one, this is it's acrylic on linen on board. I also liked how the snow kind of made a circle around uh, the sun in the woods. Um, yeah, so, and I was playing a little with pan pastel in these two. Uh, the one on the right, that's Foggy Winter Moon. Um, and this one also, there was like with this, there was still some snow on the ground and it was creating this kind of fog coming up. You could see like some of uh, the branches, like they were like just, not that they were growing, but you could see the tree buds kind of glowing in there. And again, I used just a touch of pastel in these two around the tree branches and the moon. Yeah, and that one, this one was, I liked the moodiness of that night. And on the left side, kind of a feeling of, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but when I was, when I look at it, I remember what it was like to walk that day and how like beautiful and crisp it was. It was freezing, but it was just a really, it's finally that can go outside like in February, maybe to just take a walk.
Yeah, they definitely have a moodier quality than the bright
Yeah,
summer
yeah.
sunlit paintings.
Yeah, and then I was thinking in terms of that is like this was almost like a year in time of how the light is changing and you're going from the darkness and then in the spring it's like thank gosh, thank God that it's
Mhm.
finally,
Yeah.
bright again. And everything. And it's so great to get outside. This one is probably the most recent one, Wood's Path to the Future. And this was another new view I found in the same place. So it's like going back to the same places and finding things that, um, in a way are very new. I liked the dip. There's a very big dip in the woods. And then anytime you go back, the sky is very expansive. So I've been going back multiple times and I want to go again. Um, that this day it was like the clouds were all making really interesting patterns. So I definitely wanted to paint that. And then that is a lot of what I'm looking for when I'm, something that makes me say, I want to paint that is more that, if it's has kind of interesting colors blending together and composition. So
And you're using acrylic.
yes, yeah. I've learned used oils for years and then switched, partly due to headaches, but then I also got very used, I found there's some really good brands now, that are pretty easy to use once you get used to them. You just have to really kind of strategize how quickly you're painting. I do consider, like I've been considering, well, should I buy a little bit of oil and see what's that's like again? Although I look at some of my older oil paintings, I don't know. I don't know if it would make a big difference. This was just a more stylized version of the same woods that was in the other. Um, obviously the sun isn't necessarily like that in real life. Um, but I was thinking more of like kind of medieval paintings, or the way sometimes the sun is depicted as kind of this symbol, and the trees were sort of like, um, you know, uh, soldiers were kind of reaching up. And then I liked the shapes that the shadows made and kind of went with those becoming a little more style. I don't want to say stylized again, but uh, maybe personifying them just a little bit, trying to kind of give a sense of the trees being
Yeah, they're
just,
definitely animated. Their
yes, animated.
personality.
That's a good way to put it, in the shadows. And then, yeah, the sun, I'd almost like to do a little more with that. Um, that, there are some very good acrylics where you can, with Golden's acrylics, that you can get that kind of glowing color in there. And then Longwood Moon is from a series of photos I took at Longwood Gardens when we were visiting with family. Um, this was right after Thanksgiving. I liked how everything kind of reached up, and I had a lot of photographs. I mean, the tree that's lit up at the bottom was actually another photograph in the distance, but I added that in. But I liked, I was interested in how, everything was kind of expanding up into the sky and beyond, that, it's kind of, and it was also it was a wonderful day. We had a really nice time there. So there's that as well, memory. So, um, yeah. And then again, I do play. I mean, my colors are not necessarily realistic. They're more accentuated to, blending and making something uh, that I enjoy. I mean, I enjoy blending colors a lot. So,
Well, it's about painting, not just the
yes,
subject. So,
yeah. Not just this, the subjects kind of lend themselves to what to a composition, or to what I feel it portrays at the time.
mhm.
Um, as I said, like the partial eclipse day was more for leading into something. And also it was kind of a, marking time for that day as well in a year. Um, so I was also influenced by some books that I read for a member of a woods and forest artist collective, and um, we've read quite a few books. Um, it was, and which were very interesting and also influenced a lot of what I was thinking about. Um, yeah, that group's led by a really wonderful artist, Kirsten Lamb, who started that. Yeah, so I think that's that's my show for the walkthrough.
It's a wonderful show. Thanks very much, Mary.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to speak about it.
So the show is up through November 10th. We hope people can check it out. Everything's also available on our website, ceruleanarts.com. So thanks again and have a great night.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Okay,
bye.
bye now.
Bye.